What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's time for another front-end mentor challenge. So today we are going to do this 4-card feature section together and blow it up here. And it's like it looks really simple, but it can be really tricky to actually, like, when you look at this, you'll be like, wait, how did they do that and then put 2 right there? Like, how, like, I know how to put stuff in a row, but how would you do that? And there's a ton of ways to do it. Of course, I'm going to show you my way. Like anything else with coding, with HTML, CSS, or programming, there's 1,000 ways to do the same thing. So I'm going to show you my way. There's no right or wrong way to do this, guys, but I'll show you how I did it, okay? And I'm not going to use any frameworks, just raw HTML and CSS. So that's what it looks like desktop, and then that's what it looks like mobile. Here's a little sneak peek of what we're about to build. I actually built it here. So that's what it looks like desktop. And it's not going to be exact dimensions and exact everything because I didn't download the Figma file. We're just going to download the starter kit. I'm not going to use Figma. I'm just going to kind of eyeball stuff and go from the design file that they give us. But here's what it's going to look like. That's desktop, and then we'll make it mobile together. So you can see on like smaller screens and tablets, we'll still keep them side by side. We'll let the other side boxes shrink up a bit, and then when we hit mobile screens, we'll switch it down to single column. All right, guys, let's get started. So I'm going to go here, and we're going to click on Download Starter, and there it is. So I'm going to open that up, just a little zip file. So let's drag that here so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I always rename and do the files how I want. So I'll just say 4-card section for my folder. And then we'll open up. I'm going to do this in Visual Studio Code. I'm assuming you are too. This is by far the most popular free text editor out there to get today. So now I'm going to do my file. So this git ignore, I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to delete these 2 README things because it just tells us about Front-End Mentor, and we already know about that. That's why you're here. Style guide, we'll keep the style guide. But what I want to do first, see how they have HSL colors? I use hex codes for my colors. I don't like HSLs. So I'll show you what I did, and then I'll just to speed things up, I'm not going to do it in front of you. But I went to, and this really isn't necessary. You can just copy and paste the HSLs, but I don't use HSLs and I don't really like them. So I always change them and use hex codes. So if you just go to Google, you can say HSL to hex converter. There's a million free tools that'll do it for you. And essentially what I did is I just went through each one. So let's go grab this red, just copy this, for example. We can paste it in here. And then there's the hex code that we'll get. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that with me if you want. If you want to just use hex code colors, something that you actually understand. I don't remember what HSL even stands for. But anyway, to save time on the video, I'm going to go ahead and do that now really fast. And then we'll come back and we'll have all of our hex codes set up. You can copy mine, but I just want to show you, like, whenever you want to solve a problem, especially as a beginner developer, just Google it, man. Google has everything, and AI has everything nowadays too. So we're back here. I converted all of my HSL codes into hex colors. So they're all the same colors. They're just in the hex code format, which is more friendly, more easily readable, and better for beginners anyway. So next thing we have to do is we have our HTML page. So this is the text that's going to go in all the boxes. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to put it in an HTML comment at the bottom of the page, and we'll copy and paste the text in where we need it. And then what I'm going to do is just delete everything from Front-End Mentor. I don't want any of their HTML. I don't like it. It annoys me. I'm going to make my own boilerplate code again. So I'm going to hold Shift, exclamation, and hit Tab. There we go. And I'll make the title of the page 4-card section. And then let's make a style sheet. So we'll say style.css. And then let's connect that. So we'll do our link tag below our meta tag. I'll say link style.css. Now I'm going to make an H1 and I'm going to have it say test. And we're going to test that our CSS is working. So first I'm going to do what's called a CSS page reset. This will get rid of all the default browser stylings that Chrome and all other browsers have. So I'm going to say margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. Now that asterisk, that in programming and in CSS, it means select all basically. So you'll actually see that in, like, if you ever learn PHP or anything like that, or, when you learn programming languages, the asterisk is actually used and it does mean select all. And guys, speaking of programming, just a shameless plug here, I do have a complete web developer course that will teach you from the very beginning of not knowing anything about the internet or anything, any languages, to learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. It's a 100% project-based course. By the end of the course, you'll be able to build full-stack applications. And I don't just teach you code and syntax. I teach you how to think like a developer, how to break down pages, and how to actually build designs so that you won't need me by the end of the course. 400 plus sections, 5-minute videos is the average video time. That's why there's so many lessons. It's not that it's a super long course. I just make my lessons very short. This is 100% project-based learning. There is no theory. When I teach you something, it's when we're actually putting it into a project so you can see right away how it actually works. And again, we start with HTML and work our way all the way up through JavaScript to full stack PHP, where we learn databases. And we build our own content management system, kind of like WordPress. If you're interested in that sort of thing, check the link in the description. All right, guys, so we got our reset in here. We have an H1, so I'll just, to further test our CSS, I'll say H1 color red, and then let's go live and see if this stuff is working. And here's our page. We got red test, and then there's no default margin or padding, so our reset is working. So CSS is connected successfully, so that's good. Now we have to go back to our design file or style guide. And we got to get the font, and the font that they used for this design is the Poppins Google font. So we'll go to Google Fonts and grab that, and we're going to grab the 200, 400, and 600 font weight specifically. So let's go add a Google font. So let's say Google Fonts. Here. Empty my little shopping bag. I'll do this with you. So we'll go back to the main fonts page, and we need to grab, I believe it was Poppins. Yeah, so we'll grab Poppins. So let's go to search fonts. We'll say Poppins. It's a very popular font, and it's this one. And we'll say get font, get embed code, and then we just need 200, 400, and 600. So I'm going to click change styles, and I'm going to deselect all of them. We're going to get 200, 400 selected, and 600. Let's copy our code now. That'll bring all of the font weights that we need, and we're going to put it in the head of our HTML document above our style sheet so that our fonts load in when the page loads. And then let's go ahead and grab the CSS for it. So font family Poppins with a fallback of sans serif. We'll grab that, and we'll put it in our style.css. And we're going to get rid of the H1 red. We don't need that right now. I'm going to just select the whole body and make that the default font family. That's the only font for this page, so that's good to go. All right, so I'm just going to put my pages side by side now. All right, now we can see what we're building here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a container class so that all of our content doesn't just spill out into the sides of the page. We want to put it into content. So, and if you look at our style guide, it says, I believe up here, the designs were created for the following widths: mobile 375. That doesn't really mean anything to us. We're going to set our mobile media queries however we want. Desktop 1440. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and make a container class. We'll say dot container. And I'm going to say width 90%. Max width that it can get for our design is 1440 pixels across. And then I'm going to say margin auto. So what we'll do is we're going to wrap our whole page in the container class. So let's just put right below our first body tag dot container, and open that up, put our H1 in there for now, save, and there we go. Now we've got padding on the sides of our design. It's not just going to go right up against the margins of the page. So we can get rid of, well, we'll actually keep the H1 because we're going to use an H1, and we can actually start building the design out now. So let's just take a look at it. Right here. So first we're going to do the heading and then the subheading. So it says reliable, efficient delivery powered by technology, and that's going to be an H1. We'll just keep it in H1, and we'll copy and paste that code. So, or the text, it's reliable. It's right here. The reliable, efficient delivery powered by technology. And we're going to replace it with test with that. And you'll notice that if we look at the design, there's it's not full width. These stack on top of each other, the first and second block of text, so we'll have to do that. And then the first part of it is light colored, and the second part is bold and dark. So we'll do that too. So how we're going to achieve that is we're going to use a span tag. So let's go in our H1. I'm going to write span, And I'm going to put a class on the span tag and call it light-txt. And then we're going to put reliable, efficient delivery. I'm going to cut and paste that in here because that's the part that's light text. And then powered by technology is going to stay out there. So nothing's going to happen with that yet, but we're going to use that span class to make that text on top a different lighter color and font weight. So let's do our subheading before we do our CSS. So below here, I'll just make it a paragraph because that's basically what it is. It's just a paragraph. So we'll say paragraph and we'll put a class on there of subtext or subheading. So we'll just say sub-heading. And then we'll put this in here, artificial intelligence, power tools, use millions of project data points to be successful, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to cut and paste that in here, save, and that's what we have so far. So let's go ahead and style this up now. So first, let's take our H1. And there's only supposed to be one H1 on a page, right? So I usually don't give H1s a special class. I just select them with their element selector. And we have an H1. We're going to say text align center. And let's switch it so you can see what's going on. Text align center. Okay. And then we're going to do color. And we're going to do hex code. And it's going to be here. It's going to be we're going to use the darker gray. So we'll copy that hex code. And again, I just got those from the style guide that was downloaded in the file, so you guys should have it too. There we go. So darker gray. We're going to say font weight. We're going to make sure it's at least 600. Nice and bold. And then we want to make it stack. So like the first 3 words are on top and the bottom 3 words are on bottom. So how we're going to do that is we're going to use the width property. So we're going to say width and we're going to say 35%. Okay, so it'll make stuff start to stack, but now we need to recenter it on the page because we used width. So to do that, we're going to use margin auto on the left and right sides. So we're going to say margin, and I want some on the top. So I'm going to say 3rem, right is auto, so it goes top, right, bottom, left. So it goes clockwise. Now we're going to do bottom is going to be just 1rem on the bottom to give it some padding between that and the subheading, and then we're going to say auto left. Boom. So that recenters it, okay? So if you look at the desktop version now, because this is more of like a tablet, right? So let's look at the desktop, and now the words are stacking like they should be. Now we just got to add that stylus to our class on top to make the text look like that. So let's do that now. So let's go back to select our light-txt class and add some styles to that. Say .light-txt, and first we're going to say font weight 200, and then we'll say color, and I'm going to make it that lighter color, the lighter gray right here. And I don't know if it is in the actual design, but there we go. I think that lighter gray we're going to be using for like the paragraph text, but whatever. I think that looks, let's see. We can't really tell. I think it's the lighter gray and it's 200, so we'll just stick with that. So now if we go to the desktop version, it looks just like it should. So now we got to style up our subheading. So let's do that. Let's go to our HTML. I'm going to copy my subheading class and we'll paste it down here. We'll say dot subheading, and we're going to say font size 15 pixels, color, and it's going to be the lighter gray. It's like the other top heading, we have to use width to make it stack on each other. So we're going to give it the same width. We're going to say width 35%. We're going to say text align center. And then to recenter it, not just with the text, but to center it back in the page, we're going to do margin auto again. So for this one, we're just going to say margin 0 auto. And then I want to give some width between our stacked lines of text here. So to do that, or I should say like separate them with some height, top and bottom. That for paragraphs is called line height. So I'm going to say line height 1.5 and just give it a little bit more, maybe 1.6. It makes your text a little bit more readable, basically. So again, if we look at the desktop version now, that's what ours looks like. And that's what theirs looks like. It's identical. So very good. Now we can move on to our cards part. This is a very small project, so we're actually like more than halfway done at this point, or about halfway. Now we just got to make our cards. So let's go back to our HTML, and we're going to stay inside that container and below the paragraph. And I'm going to make a div with the class of cards container. So we're going to say dot cards dash container. And then this is the container. I'm going to use Flexbox to achieve this, and I'll show you how. So this is our cards container. Within our cards container, we're going to have a card. So we're going to make another class of card. And then we got to put the content that we want in there. So within each card, we're going to have the stripe. So see the stripes on top here that are different colors. So that's going to be another div. So I'm going to say div.stripe, and I'm going to show you how to make little stripes and stuff like that with just CSS. So that's all you need, and I'll show you how to do that. So for now, it's just going to be stripe. We'll eventually have another class. Well, the first one we already know is going to be Cyan, so we'll make another class. The color is Cyan, so we'll put Cyan on there and stripe. And I'll show you if this is confusing. If you're new, you'll see how this is going to work. So just leave that alone, opening and closing div just like that, okay? We're still in our card now, so we're still in our card, so go below your stripe. And we're going to make another div and call it card content container. And that's where our actual content for the card is going to go, so the headings, paragraph, and the picture. So I'm going to make the headings in the card H2s. So I'm just going to say H2. The first one is supervisor. So we'll say supervisor. And then we're going to make paragraph below there, and we're going to call those paragraphs card-P for card paragraph. And then we'll put our text in there. So this is the one for the supervisor. Monitors activity to identify project roadblocks. So let's paste that text in there. And then we got to add the image. So let's go below the paragraph. And for that, I'm going to add a div around the image. I'm going to call it card image container. We're going to make an image. And we're going to give these images a class of card-img in case you need to style independently. And then we're going to go into our images folder, and we're looking for the icon-supervisor.svg. It's right there. And then for alt text, I'll put supervisor icon. See what we got. Okay, so the card is starting to take shape here. So let's go ahead and style this card up, and then we'll copy it down a bunch of times, and then we're just, because we're going to be duplicating, all the cards have the same basic styles, just different colors and stuff. So let's finish styling this up. Let's look at our design. And so we have like some padding around all the content in here. The image is to the far right up here, so we'll do that, and then we'll style up our header and our paragraph, and we'll do our blue stripe. And then there's also some box shadowing around the cards, so we'll do some box shadowing too. So first we're going to style the card part. So we'll say .card, and we'll add our styles. So on our card, the first thing that we actually need to do is add our box shadow so that we can actually see the outsides of the card and how wide it is. To generate box shadow, I just use online tools. I don't memorize the syntax, so I'm going to go to box shadow generator. I always use this website, box shadow CSS generator. It's been here for like as long as I've known web development. I still use it to this day. It's a great little tool. So we're going to do this. We're going to 0 everything, or -1 or 1 it. And then I'm going to select my shadow color. I don't want it too dark. I'm actually going to just play off of the design here. I'm going to make it this light gray for the box shadow color. So I'm just going to copy and paste this in here where it says RGB. It'll switch to hex for us, or it'll convert it automatically, just like that. And then if we look at the design, there's some shadow really along the bottom and a little bit around the sides and none on the top. So we'll try to make ours look like that. Let's make this full screen so you guys can see what's going on. And so shadow vertical, we want it to be down like that. And we don't want it to be too crazy. Let's do that. Horizontal, we're not going to touch for now. We're going to do blur radius. There we go. Just add and it's not going to look exactly like the design, but it'll look pretty good. I think that might be it. Let's look at the design, and that's pretty close. So I'm going to go with this. I'm just going to copy all this code and paste it right into my card. And again, guys, if you're a beginner, do not worry about memorizing CSS. As long as you know what to do and what a property is called, you can find out how to do it online. Don't memorize code. It's a waste of time. Know the general concepts and what stuff is called, and then you're good to go. So there we go. There's our little box shadow. It's a little darker than the design, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. We're not going to be perfectionists. Let's just get this thing built. That's another thing with being a developer. Just build it and ship it. Get it out to the market. It doesn't have to be perfect. You'll be fine. So now that we can see where our card is, let's add a border radius because they have a little bit of rounding on the corners. And I'm going to say 8 pixels. And then I'm going to give these a width, at least on desktop. They're going to have a fixed width of 350 pixels each. And then for height, we're just going to say auto. That's it for that part of the card. Now we got to do our card content container. So let's select that class. And this is just like another div container. Well, actually, yeah, let's do that first, and then we'll do our stripe. Let's do card content container right here. Select that. And for that, we're just going to give padding all the way around the content of 2 rem on the top, bottom, sides, left. So there we go. Just like our design, it has some padding on the sides and top now of our content. We'll leave the stripe for last. I'll show you that last. So let's continue on. Let's do our H2 next. So we're just going to say H2 because those are the only H2s on the page. We're going to say color. It's going to be that darker gray. Again, we'll say font weight 600 to make sure it's bold. We're going to have some padding bottom to separate the paragraph from it of just 8 pixels. And then I'm going to have some letter spacing of just 0.5 pixels just to give the letters a little bit of spacing, just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then let's do the card paragraph. So let's select card P. So let's go down, say .card P. Again, we're going to say font size 15 pixels. And the color, that lighter gray. That's all we need to do for that. And now let's do our image, and I'm going to show you how we're going to stick it over in the corner here and keep it there. So for that, we have our card image container. Remember, images by default are like inline or inline block. So by putting them in this div, I'm going to kind of steady it, make it more block, and then we can actually control it and use Flexbox to position it and keep it in the same spot no matter how big or small the card is. So let's select our card image container, say .card image container, and now we're going to use a little Flexbox trick. We're going to say display, flex, align items center, and then we're going to say justify content. And we're going to say flex end. Flex end is all the way to the right is what that means. Boom, just like that. Okay. Flex start would be all to the left. Flex end is there. Center is actually centered. That's how you can do that. And now it'll stay there no matter how big or small I make the page. So if I do this, it's never going to move no matter what. Flexbox is a lifesaver, guys. Before that, we would have had to do a lot more complicated code to achieve that. So thank God Flexbox eventually came along. All right, so last but not least, let's do our stripe. So our stripe code should go right here because it's like first on the page. So we'll say .stripe. And then what we'll do is we'll say, for now, we'll say background color black. Because it's basically just a div, right? So we'll say black background color, width 100%, and height is going to be 5 pixels. And it'll show up now. Boom, just like that. So now we need to make it blue or cyan. So remember we made that cyan class as well. Let's select that back here. And we'll put our colors down here. Say .cyan. And remember, it has to be a background color, not just color. So background color. Let's grab the cyan hex code or cyan or whatever you call it. It's probably cyan. Paste it in, save. Now that we have that class on there, now it's blue. Now we have that cyan stripe. So that's how you make a stripe or a divider. You just use a div and you give it a width, a height, and a background color. Okay, so you can use that in a lot of future projects. And there we go. Now our card is looking just like that. So let's copy. We need 3 more cards. So now that we have 1 card built, it's really easy. We can just copy the cards down and just add the content. So let's go copy down 1, 2, 3. Boom. So before we add each content to each card, let's solve the problem of making them look like this. So I'll show you how we do that. So remember, we have this container around all the cards called cards container, right? So it starts here, it ends all the way at the bottom. All 4 of our cards are in here. So we're going to use that to flex them first. So let's grab that class, cards container. Copy it, and I'm always copying and pasting my classes over, guys, because it just eliminates typos. Remember, typo can ruin your whole design. It'll make stuff not work. It'll frustrate you for a long time until you realize you have a typo. So just always copy, paste stuff as much as you can. So let's say display, flex, align items center, and justify content center. And there, now they're all together. This is a smaller screen. If we go desktop, they're all just side by side, right? So now we got to make them look like this. So how the heck are we going to do that? So I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to make another container in between the second and third card, and then I'm just going to flex those. I'm going to use flex direction columns so that they stack column-wise, and then these two are still going to remain side by side. So let's do that. Let's go into our HTML. Let's make this big, and let's see. We have our first card here, starts and ends here, right? So I mean, it has to start on our second card. So let's go above the second card. And I'm going to make a class, a div with the class that's called column. It's kind of like a utility class, column flex. And then I'm going to take this closing div for column flex, and we're going to put it at the bottom of the third card where it closes right there. Boom. So now our middle two cards are selected with column flex, or they're about to be. So let's copy column flex over, and let's put it right here. Dot column flex, and all I'm going to do here is say flex direction column and save, and then check this out. Now they're column, and then these two are still side by side. Very cool. And now let's separate our cards. So let's give some margin on our whole cards container section here because it's right up against that subheading. So cards container, let's just say margin top 3 rem. Okay. So now we got to give our cards some separation because they're all mashed up. Still on each other, and we don't want that. So let's go down to our card class, and we'll go below our box shadow, and we'll say margin 1 rem top, bottom, left, and right. Boom, that'll separate them. Okay, and that looks just like the design. So now that we have that, which was like the hardest part of the thing, now let's just fill in our other content for our other cards. We'll just go card by card. The second card is going to be what? It's going to be Team Builder, okay? So let's go back up here. So our second card is right here. So our Team Builder stripe is going to be what? The red one? Yeah. So what is that? This hex, let's select this hex code, copy it, go to our CSS. Let's make the .red class, say background red. Go to our HTML, put red here. Now that stripe will turn the red color. And then now we got to fill in the stuff. So we got Team Builder. This is all the Team Builder text code. So we'll paste all of that here in the paragraph. I'll cut Team Builder out and put it in my heading. Boom, and save. And now we just got to have the Team Builder icon. So let's go to our image right here. And we'll say images, icon, Team Builder. And then we'll say in our alt text, Team Builder icon. Whoops. All right, so the third card is going to be the Karma Yellow. So let's go down here. Change this to, is it yellow or orange? What do they say? Orange, okay. So we'll make this orange class, which doesn't exist yet. This is going to say Karma. Got to grab the Karma icon, which is like a light bulb. We'll put Karma icon in the alt text. Change the image to the Karma light bulb image. So let's say images, icon Karma. And now we just got to make our yellow stripe up here. So, or orange. God, I keep saying yellow. It's orange, man. All right, there we go. Grab orange. Orange background. Paste that in. There we go. Now, last but not least, we have calculator. So calculator looks like it's going to be blue. Yeah. Let's just do that class now. Go to our CSS. Blue. Background. Blue color. Go in here. Right here. This is going to say I have the blue class. Say blue. Save. Okay, there's blue. And we can delete this. Oh, let's just do this first. Take all this calculator text, put this here, cut this, put it in the heading, save. Okay, and then we got to get our icon. So this is calculator icon for the alt text. And then our image. Go into our images folder and select icon calculator. And there's the calculator set up. Let's delete all this out of here. All right, so let's look at our design so far. So our desktop design is complete. So if we look at it now we got to add our media queries just to make it mobile, change a few things around. So it looks good, Small. This will be tablet. And then as we get in, we got to make it mobile for phones. So let's do that. We're going to use media queries for that. So I'm going to go down here and make a comment below our desktop code. I'm going to label this area media queries. So I like to use max width for my media query. So let's go down here. We're going to say at media screen, and I'm going to say max. I'm a max width guy. I do not use min width. It confuses me. Max width to start is going to be 1023 pixels. 1024 pixels, this design should still look pretty decent. So we're going to use 1023 and below to start. So 1024 would be like an iPad Air, I think. Yeah. And then there's the iPad Pro, which is 1024 by default. And it still looks good there. So basically we're saying up to 1023 and then 1024 and above, you can just stay desktop. But 1023 and below, we're going to make some changes. So 1023 and below, we're going to say, so let's actually get that view up here. So that would be like a small iPad kind of to start. So iPad mini. See how that doesn't look good. So now we got to fix our heading widths and then put these stack on top of each other. So what we're going to do is we're first going to, what I'll do is I'll just copy everything except for that and our container. So from the H1 down, just copy everything into my media queries. We're going to delete everything we don't change and change what we have to. So all the colors we don't need, that's going to stay there. And our card image container is going to stay the same. And so is our card P. Everything else we're going to keep for now. I think this will be fine. We're not going to change the H2 or the card content creator padding. Our stripe is going to remain the same. Our card is going to change in some regards, so everything else we'll keep. So let's fix this. We need to make our width for our H1 100% on smaller screens because it looks dumb at 35%. So there we go. Let it stretch. Everything else is going to stay the same. Everything else the same. Our light text class is going to remain the same, so we don't need to change anything there for media queries. Our width for our subheading is going to also go to 100%. Give it some room. Everything else is going to remain the same. It's going to inherit the styles from desktop, so we'll get rid of everything else. All right, here our cards container is going to change because now we're going to say everything is the same but flex direction column. Okay, so now they're all just going to stack on top of each other. And then our card itself, we're going to let them be bigger so that they're not so small on these big screens. We're going to give them another 50 pixels to breathe. We'll say 400 pixels, okay? Just to make them a little bit bigger, take up a little bit more space. And again, this is going to be for like tablets and stuff. We're going to do specific mobile phone. We'll change that. So just bear with me because on mobile phones, if we inspect, they're going to be too big for a lot of phones right now because we just set it to 400 pixels. See that? It doesn't look so hot, but we'll fix that. Bear with me. What else? I think that's all we're going to change. So now let's make another media query for phones, for smaller screen size phones, or just, smartphones in general. And our new media query is going to be 500 pixels. Let's do 600 just to protect everything. We'll say 600 and below. And all we really need to change at that point is our card. And we're just going to make the width 100% instead of 400 pixels. So that way it'll always stay in its container and look nice. 100%. Bam. All right, so that should be all the media styles that we need, guys. If we test out some devices here, here's iPad. We can do iPhone 12 Pro. Oh, we do need to fix something because remember, we gave them some margin to separate stuff, so I did forget about that. We have to say, let's see, on bigger screens, it's not really showing that, is it? Oh, it is. Okay. So we need to do this. We put the margin, it was either margin or padding, I think in the card itself, margin 1 rem. So right there. So we're going to switch that to margin 1 rem, just top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. That should fix that. See, what's happening, guys, is when we put margin, it's doubling on the, since it's top and bottom, it's doubling on the end two cards to 20 pixels, and then these are just 10 in the middle. Let's go back to using margin, 1 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right, and make sure that maybe it might be our flex container that for column that's making that happen. So our column flex, let's take that, and let's see. Oh, we already did bring it down here. So let's say flex direction, flex. No, but maybe. So let's take the margin. Let's zero the margin out on card. And then on just these two, let's say margin 1 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. And then what I'll do, so that puts margin on these two cards. And then let's make another utility class really quick, and we'll put it on karma. So let's do this. We'll just make a utility class up here, and I'll say MT for margin top, and that's going to equal margin top 1 rem. And then we can just put that on the karma card. We can just put the MT class. So let's see. So after orange, let's put MT. All right, and that fixed it. That makes everything look equal. Yeah. All right. So the question is, though, is that going to ruin it when it's not mobile? It's probably going to make it look a little silly when it's not mobile, so we'll zero that out on desktop. Or we'll do something. Go back to desktop view. And let's give some margin on our cards container really fast, because this is just cutting off now. So we can just change this to margin 3 rem, 0 rem. 3 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. All right, let's go back here. No, that actually looks fine. Doesn't ruin anything. Cool. So I think that's it, guys. So let's do this. I'll show you guys how it looks. Desktop, tablets, mobile, and then down to smartphones. And then, of course, if you want to right-click and inspect, you can go through all the mobile devices you'd like and test it out, make sure it looks good. So we can go through and do like whatever, Google Pixel. And that's still cutting off right there. I wonder why. Didn't we just give it some margin? There we go. It's working now. I had to do a hard refresh, so Shift Command R or CTRL if you're on PC or Windows, Control Shift R. Hard refresh. For some reason, I had to refresh the page to make that margin bottom kick in. There we go. So now we got that space there. But yeah, guys, this looks good on like every phone, even on like, let's check an iPhone 5, a really old phone. Looks good. Go there. Go back up to tablet mode, or go to like whatever, Pixel 4, another Android phone. These are all looking good. So anyway, guys, that's it for the project. Now what we can do, and I'll do with you guys, we can actually upload this to Front End Mentor. I've actually had people ask me questions about how I do that. So let's do that. Let's go to Front End Mentor. Actually, what I'm going to do first, well, let's go to Submit Solution. And we'll say, what is this called again? Let's see, 4-card feature section. So I usually just copy that. Go to Submit Solution. I just copy whatever the title is of whatever it is. So now we have to get a GitHub repository and send the site live. So I'll do that with you now. So to do that, we're going to go to GitHub. And let's get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. We can close our project. I'm going to hit New. I'm going to hit 4-card section is what I'll name my repository. In the description, I'll put 4-card section challenge from Front End Mentor. Front End Mentor. Oops, if I can spell. Cool. And then I'll say create repository. I'm not going to do a README or any of that. I never really do that stuff, to be honest, guys. I know that might be best practice, but it's a waste of time for me. And now we got to open this up in our terminal and upload this thing. So I'm going to close out of my VS Code, because you can't have the file open when you're uploading it to GitHub, at least not on Mac. And we're going to go to my, let's see, I just named this 4-card section. Yeah, for card section, we're going to right click, and on my Mac, I'm going to open it up at my terminal. And for Git, I have a video on Git and GitHub. If you don't know how to use that, search Practical Web Dev Git and GitHub if you want to learn this stuff, if you have no idea what I'm doing right now. So we're going to push this live to GitHub. So I'm going to say git init, git add, and then from there, I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to say git first commit message, put it on a main branch, and then we're going to upload it to our remote GitHub repository, and then we're going to push it so that everything loads up to GitHub. So let's refresh. Okay, and there's all of our code. So we have our repository. So now what we need to do is get our GitHub. We're going to copy the web address for this repository, and now we're going to put repository URL. And now let's push the site live. To do that, I'm going to use Netlify. So I'm just going to go to netlify.com, log in, and I should already be in my Practical Web Dev account, and I am. I'm going to click Add New Project, Import Existing Project from GitHub. Yep, I know I'm authorized. All right, so let's search for card section, see if that comes up. We just uploaded it. There it is. All right, and we're just going to go ahead and go down here now, hit deploy for card section. Takes a couple seconds. There we go. And then it's going to give us this little dummy thing, wonderful basbusa, whatever. That's our web address. And now this thing is actually live on the internet. Pretty cool. I'm going to copy this so that we can give them our live site URL. And then I don't put anything in here. I don't care about that. Hashtag stuff doesn't do anything. I'm going to write build, or I'm going to say watch me build this project live on YouTube. And then I'll put the link. I don't have the link yet because I haven't uploaded the video, but for now I'm just going to save, and then I'll go back and edit that. So I'll hit submit solution. You have completed the challenge. And then now we can view it. So here's mine. This person had different colors for some reason. They used different colors. You can see everybody that did it now 3 hours ago. Here's me 1 minute ago. And then it'll show you, like, you can go to the live site, or any user can view our live site that we just put it on. And if you want to know how to use Netlify, guys, I have a video on that. Search Practical Web Dev Netlify, how to deploy to Netlify. I'll link it in the description if you don't know how to do that. It's not hard. It's very easy to set up. What's up? View live site. And then you can view the code on GitHub. It'll take you to GitHub. And then you can also view your solution versus the original. So this is the solution. This is the design. So we nailed that pretty dead on. I'm happy with that. All right, guys, that's going to end the video here. Again, check out the description, link in the description, completewebdevcourse.com. If you like my teaching style, if this helped you a lot. And quite honestly, if you had to come here and have me like show you how to do this and hold your hand, you probably haven't learned web development the right way. It's not your fault. A lot of courses aren't very good at teaching it. If you want to learn how to break down designs, think like I think, and actually do stuff, check out the Complete Web Developer course. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.